Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be looking at a dream interpretation that was sent in by Kristina. But spoiler alert, it's actually not a dream. In reality, it's a nightmare. Now, as many of you guys are aware, especially if you guys have been watching the channel, you guys know that I don't interpret nightmares. Now, the reason for this is because nightmares are from the enemy. The goal of a nightmare is to have the demonic spirit open the door spiritually so that the demon can attack the person in their day-to-day life. So, for example, sometimes demonic spirits come in the form of lust. You have fear, anger. Those are just certain examples as to the types of nightmares that you can get from the enemy. And as mentioned, the goal of that demonic spirit is to have the person open the door to that specific spirit. As mentioned, it could be lust, anger, fear. Those are just a few examples, so that that spirit has a foothold or legal right to mess with the person, essentially. But in any case, let's get started with reading Kristina's nightmare. I believe I'm in a movie theater, mostly because the lights and the seating, as everyone is getting up to walk at the door, a man is standing in the corner and he asks if he can have a moment of my time. He tells me that my mom is speaking. I feel weird vibration in my body. He wants me to follow him first. I'm hesitant but still curious. He tells me he is a preacher, but I'm not getting that vibe. He walks into a small office and I notice there is not an exit. So you know what? So I'm just going to stop it right there because there are important details to note so far in this nightmare. For starters, as I've stated before, nightmares, there's a common theme there, is that it's always very dark. Now, there can be color in nightmares, I should specify that, but it's always dull compared to dreams from the Lord. So for right now, as the nightmare has started, there's already, the person, Kristina, is in a movie theater. So you can already ascertain that it's very dark in the movie theater. Another weird thing that occurs is that there's a guy standing on right next to the door, and he's kind of enticing Kristina to come and follow him. So that's what's happening here. But I'll just state it right away. The guy is a demonic spirit. That's what's happening here. So anyways, let's continue with this nightmare. I do not trust him, so I stand in the doorway. We walk to another room and it is pretty messy. It's filled with all sorts of things. I notice some shelves with gold writing and recognize it as Old English text. I'm looking around and it is not an office at all, but more like a den of an alchemist. He pulls up a book from the shelf and I tell him my mother is not dead. We just do not have a relationship, so I guess she's dead to me. So right here, I want to stop. There's a couple of interesting things. So as mentioned, we've already established here that that guy is a demonic spirit. And it's very interesting that he kind of had a couple of things on the shelves that would intrigue Kristina. So especially since Kristina specifically said that she noticed that there's like an old English text. So that right there tells me that this demon already knows Kristina pretty well. He purposefully put something there so that it would intrigue her. So I'm assuming that Kristina here is very interested in that kind of subjects, right? History or old English text. So if anything, it is worth mentioning that the demon is just trying to entice Kristina to come with it so that he could hear him out. So then the nightmare continues and it states, he starts opening up the book and I noticed it is a book of spells. I immediately tell him, no, I'm not reading that. And I start to recite the Lord's Prayer. He is saying it with me, but it feels as if he's mocking me. So again, here, if anything, it's just letting us know that, yeah, this thing is a demon since it is listening to the Lord's Prayer, but it's just making fun of Kristina. So I tell him I want no part of this, and I don't think he should either. He's trying to get me to recite a love spell or something, and he tells me, I know you can feel how connected we are, and what we have is expensive. He knows I am the one he knows. I can feel this pull towards me. Okay, so it's very important right here because you kind of just outed this demon in your nightmare. You kind of just told him, wait a second, he wants me to recite a love spell. As I'm reading the Lord's Prayer, he's trying to tell me to read this spell out. What that tells me right here is that we're not just dealing with a demonic spirit. If anything, we're dealing with a spiritual husband. So it seems to me that this is why that demon was very familiar with you. And he kind of just says it right here. You specifically state that he can tell that you can feel how connected we are. So there's already a past thing. So it seems like this demonic spirit has been trying to get back into your life, almost as if to say that he was your spiritual husband before. This demonic spirit was very familiar with you before, but you got rid of it. So essentially what the demon is trying to do in this nightmare is that it's trying for you, it's making you want to open that door again for it to make that demon your spiritual husband again, if that makes sense. So that spiritual husband wants to come back into your life, essentially, and he's trying to make it happen. He's trying to open the door spiritually. That's why he's trying to make you recite a love spell as you guys were talking. I can feel his pull towards me. I tell him, it sounds like you have already done that spell. So here's another interesting thing. Let's break this down. She says that it almost feels like she already has this love spell, which would indicate that she's already feeling an attraction towards this demon. So again, there is history there where this demon has been a spiritual husband for Kristina, which is definitely not good. And it's obvious that this demon, this demonic spiritual husband, hasn't been a part of Kristina's life for quite some time, and he wants her to open the door again. So it's very important that you resist, and that's what Kristina is doing here. But she almost feels an attraction. That's why she was like, "Did he already do this love spell? Because I'm feeling attracted to this spiritual husband." He says, "I thought you believed in the good book." So here it's interesting because it seemed like the whole time the demon was trying to lure Kristina into the room to kind of have her say the love spell. So that's the whole goal of this nightmare. That's what the demon wanted, was for Kristina to open the door spiritually so that he can come into her life. But Kristina wasn't buying it. She was like, "No, I'm not getting out." And it seems like Kristina was leaving the nightmare. And as he was doing that, he switched and he's like, "Well, what is this? Well, aren't you a Christian? And I'm a Christian too. We can make this work," kind of a thing. It's interesting that he says, "I thought you believed in the good book." And Kristina replies, "I said, yes, I do, and I want to leave here now." So it's like Kristina's like, "I'm not buying your lies," which is awesome, by the way. And the other thing that I would actually recommend for Kristina to do if this occurs again, because this demon obviously wants Kristina to open the door for that demon to be the spiritual husband for her, it's very important that the next time something like this happens, you have to rebuke that spirit. You have to tell that spirit to leave in the name of Jesus. So that's very important to do. That's something that you didn't do in this nightmare. Obviously, it's great that you kind of fell for the trap. You didn't fall for the trap, but you kind of knew that the trap was coming. So you were like, "No, I'm getting out of here. I'm leaving." And it's interesting that that demon changed its tactic right away to try to entice you one more time. Like, no, but I'm a Christian. We can make this work. No. And you're like, "No, I'm at it. I am a Christian, but I'm leaving." So you left. And sure enough, as you said that, "I'm leaving now," you woke up. And that's what you state here. You said, "I woke up for a moment and then I went back to sleep and the dream continued. With me walking out of the room down an alley, I run into a man and a woman and ask the man if we can talk. I call him pastor and the woman leaves and I start explaining to the man how I believe something is trying to attack me through my dreams. He mumbles something about my dark subconscious feelings. I try to explain I feel it's more that I'm trying to get him to pray with me, but he just keeps walking." Okay, so that part, so as soon as the first part of the dream ended and then after you woke up, the second part, that's not a continuation. If anything, that's a carnal dream. So as many of you guys know, a carnal dream is a dream from our subconscious. So what ended up happening here is that those are not the same dream. So as soon as Kristina woke up from the first dream, it almost seems as if Kristina was like, "Whoa, what just happened?" And so she was reflecting on that. And then after she fell back asleep, and now after she was thinking about all of that stuff, again, that's all part of her subconscious now. Then after she went to bed, she was just kind of just thinking about what just happened in that dream to kind of just figure it out. And so then that's when she started dreaming about her seeing a guy that seemed like he was a pastor. So that's not important. As many of you guys know, carnal dreams are dreams that come from us. So that's not a dream from the Lord. So I don't interpret that. And as mentioned, this is just highlighting what Kristina was doing. Kristina was just reflecting on what had just happened in the previous dream, which was a nightmare. So as mentioned, I don't interpret nightmares, but what I'm doing here is that I'm exposing what the enemy's plan is. What was the enemy trying to do in this nightmare? And obviously what this demonic spirit's plan was it wanted Kristina to open the door again so that it could become Kristina's spiritual husband, which is not good, obviously, that this demonic spirit is very upset that, Kristina kicked him out of his life, rebuked him, and essentially he was just trying to reopen that old door. So my advice to Kristina for the next time that something like this occurs is you have to rebuke this demonic spirit. So that's the only thing here that Kristina didn't do, is that she did not, tell this spirit to leave. If anything, she said, "I'm leaving now," and she left the nightmare, which is good. But as mentioned, it's very important that Kristina rebukes this demonic spirit, especially since obviously it did try to open the door again, but it didn't. It's worth noting that Kristina did get out of there, so she's safe. But this is just for next time if this happens again. I would advise that the next time you have to use your authority in Christ and rebuke that demonic spirit, because Kristina already knew. She already knew that this was weird. She didn't like where this was headed, so she was like, "I need to get out of here." But I would recommend you rebuking that demonic spirit as well and then getting out of there, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So I hope that this has helped in understanding what the plans of the enemies were. And again, this is not an interpretation of the nightmare. This is just me exposing what the demonic spirit was trying to do in your sleep. And for everyone else that's watching, if you guys would like an interpretation for your dreams, make sure to send it to me at my email, which is dreaminterpretation2020@gmail.com. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and God bless.